4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Evan and Thaddeus here. Here we have on.
Wow! Oh fuck!
We started celebrating a little early today. Yeah,
there's no take backsies.
Started celebrating a little early today with our 1-year anniversary show. Welcome back to another HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, where we have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk. Cheers, buddy! We made it.
Cheers!
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
Happy anniversary, lover. Awesome. So today what we're going to do is actually do a little bit of a recap. We've had 50 shows that we've done over the last year. This is actually episode 51 now. We did take a week off there over Christmas last year to kind of hang out with the family a little bit. But other than that, we've been on every single week, putting out shows, putting out content. And really, I mean, this whole show, the success of it is due to the guests that we've had and the quality of guests we've had and the quality of conversations, which has been thanks to the alcohol. So really, thank you to whiskey for making the show possible.
There we go. Well said. So, and we did, I know that I posted earlier, we were going to have a guest on. He's stuck, I'm assuming in airport limbo land on an airplane somewhere. He was flying home today. So that's what we're blaming it on. So if not, then we're just going to throw him under the bus later.
And he's a good friend and a great bongo drummer. So he's fully excused from that. Awesome.
Except for he did make us have to scramble. So fuck you, Trent.
With all the love.
Yes.
Love it. So where do you want to start, bud, in terms of episodes? Do we want to start in the beginning?
Well, let's go back a little bit. I mean, let's go right from the very beginning on why we started this show in the first place, you know, and I know we've kind of chatted a little bit about that, but like, I mean, technically I say anniversary-ish because we started having whiskeys on Wednesdays in like September, prior to, and we're like, okay, this is getting bored of just having us on there. Sorry, I was looking at Devin Harrison's comment there. So he can ask us questions. No, I'm kidding. Do not ask us questions, Devin. Your questions will be wild. So it started with us just sitting around drinking whiskey, having a conversation. We're like, okay, we got to have other people on. We got to have guests on. And one of our very first guests was Trent Booth. Actually, I think our guest.
He was our very first guest.
Yes, he was our very first guest. That when we started to format this appropriately, and actually Kelly McKay was number 3, so I was looking at that, but we didn't even have a name for the show. We didn't even know it was going to be HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. I don't think we came up with a name until December, after we had a month and a half worth of guests on. We're like, all right, we're on to something here, and it's been amazing. It's been a fun ride. You see Al Levy commenting. He was a guest on our show. Devin Harrison guest on our show. So lots of good conversations, and I still get to tell my wife that I drink whiskeys on Wednesdays for work.
Well, and when my kids even tell like their friends at school, their teachers, like, oh, what does your dad do for work now? And they're like, oh, it's Whiskey Wednesdays. That's his job, Whiskey Wednesdays. So apparently I work 1 day a week and that's it. And all I do is prepare for that one day to drink whiskey and shoot the shit with you, bud. So it's good.
Perfect. I love it. So productivity on Wednesdays go down. But
dreaming and scheming goes way up. And this is where a lot of the big ideas have come from, both in our business and in our clients' businesses, and then also in the show itself. So we've had a great run so far and having a lot of fun with it. And I mean, really, what it came down to was just adding value. Like, we get the privilege of working with some of the brightest minds within the industry and having conversations with some of the brightest minds in the industry. And more people need to know and hear from some of these people. And we just wanted to create a platform where we could really, truly just give back. And we haven't received $1 for doing this. It's helped with our reputation, and it's been cool in terms of, showing up to the Service Hero event this last weekend with Vic, and that was a blast out in Vegas. had a great time with all the people there. Devin, love my roommate there, but it was really cool having people come up and say what's up. And I listened to the show, and I've seen you guys on the show. You guys are doing great, and people I've never met before, even had a conversation with, and it was really, really freaking cool.
Yeah, man. I wish I would have been there to get that, but I get the messages from people, and it's just, again, it's a straight value give, right? Like we haven't. I mean, we'll start to take some sponsors on, for the show, limited spots, by the way, to be able to do some fun things with it, to be able to get the message out further. That's the idea, by the way, when we bring on the sponsorship, is to get the message out further, to be able to drop bombs and fire and spread the fire and the knowledge. So. If you are thinking about sponsoring our show, reach out, send us a message, let's chat. Got to drop that in there, of course, naturally. So, well, let's, I guess, what has been your biggest takeaway for, I guess, if you could put it down to one thing, what would be the one biggest takeaway you've taken out of doing our show?
Shouldn't that be our finishing question? What is the one thing? No. Honestly,
no, that's different. So
okay, fair enough. The one biggest takeaway is the amount of people out there that need help and aren't aware that they need help. There's so many great ideas that people are running with in their business, and just that one idea could help so many other businesses, and it could literally be the difference between bankruptcy and creating a thriving business, being that one little thing that they could implement and execute on to then propel them and get them to a situation where they can go deeper and they can grow and invest in their team and do all the really fun things that you see some of these businesses doing. But like literally just one idea away for some of them, and being able to facilitate those conversations and draw those ideas out has been so much fun and so rewarding and so fulfilling in terms of getting that feedback. So yeah, definitely that.
Nice. Well, and that's again why we do the show, right?
Totally.
Amen.
And you? Do you have a big takeaway so far?
I drink a lot of whiskey. No, it just it kind of echoes a lot of the same things that you've had, right? But not even just I remember one guy reached out to me, and he was a band. I think I might have reached out to him. He's commenting on the show and had a conversation with him, and he was a band camp director, and he's here's the power of putting out content. I mean, 90% of people that watch and follow and read and consume your content do not like it, do not share it, do not comment on it. They don't do fuck all with it, but they watch it. And so this guy's never commented on a single one of my posts or our videos or likes, and he's a Bandcamp director. And he actually said, he's like, Thad, you wouldn't believe it. Because of your guys' show, my sales are up, memberships, and my his renewals were up. So his business, from the Bandcamp is increased as a result of the guests that we've had on our show. So we're not just touching the HVAC industry, we're touching all people who watch the show, and that's a result of the guests, right? I mean, yeah, okay, we're the faces, but it's the guests who make it possible, on there. And I think it's just, you never know who you're impacting, I think is kind of my biggest takeaway. And that's part of why we do what we do.
Totally. Well, and that's one of the fun parts about posting it to our Facebook profiles. Like there's so many people on there that we've been friends with. I mean, I've had my Facebook profile since 2008. Like,
yep,
there's so many friends on there from so long ago that I've completely lost touch with, but might stumble upon one of these videos, and you never know what kind of an impact it's going to have like that. So that's really cool, man.
Right.
I love it. Well, in terms of going over some of these past episodes and some highlights, and it's funny you mentioned Kelly McKay. I mean, I think that was the first episode we did after we launched the actual name. Oh no, it was the one right before. It was the one where we had the announcement of what the show name was going to be. But that was a really big episode for me, because Kelly was someone that I had watched on YouTube, and I had seen some of his content that he put out, and I really admired what he was doing, and him and Gil working together with HVAC Uncensored and and crushing it with their podcast. But it was cool having him on and diving into some of those really cool like KPIs and numbers. And I mean, Kelly's very, very down to the numbers in his business and knowing where everything is coming from in his business. And I mean, when he's putting out the content that he is on YouTube, he really has to have that accountability to himself to make sure that he's running his business the right way. But I absolutely love diving into it with him on that episode and going through all those numbers, going through his systems and his procedures and how to get over that barrier of hitting $1 million. Because it is a barrier for some guys. And I mean, for Kelly, he's in Wichita, Kansas. Like, it's not exactly the booming metropolis of LA or something like that. So that figure was a big deal for him. And so we talked about that in depth too. What would have been some of your favorite episodes there, bud?
Right, every single one of them. No, one that I reference quite a bit, and it's actually kind of unique because we're coming up to the time of the year where you're starting to plan for 2022. And I know we have a question of, your 2022 guest list look like. It's still open. We usually go in spurts and book it out, with our guest list, by the way. Just because there is a lot of work on the back end to find guests. And so we like to kind of go in spurts and hit it hard and book out 8 weeks in advance because we go live, we're only taking one person per week. So we don't want to go too terribly far in advance. But, it was one with Peter Green and his wife, when they were on the show. And one of the things they talked about was budgeting and their forecasting and their marketing dollars. So they're like, okay, a lot of people, what they tend to do is, I want to be a $3 million per year business. Or I did $3 million per year last year. So I'm going to make my marketing budget off of a $3 million per year because that's what we did last year. But they started planning their budget. That's what they did when they first got into business. They actually said, okay, well, if we want to be a $5 million per year business or $4 million or whatever your numbers are, right? $5 million per year business, we're actually going to create our marketing budget based off of being a $5 million per year business. And when they did that, then they actually saw the growth behind it because they're advertising like a company who wants to be $5 million. Yeah, it sucks in the very beginning of the year because you're having more money go out than the revenue, but it catches up, right? As long as they stay true to their goals. And so I don't necessarily, I mean, it's tough to pick a favorite, but that's one thing that I reference quite often when I have conversations with people and saying, okay, well, what are your revenue goals and what are you spending on, in terms of your marketing dollars? Right? I mean, we're a marketing agency. Those are the conversations that we have. So it's kind of neat to be able to reference and shift people's mindset as a result of some of our guests.
Totally. Well, and it's an interesting concept. And actually, it's funny, Tommy Mello, at the Service Hero event, he talked about this concept as well of, what is the business that you want to be running and writing out in depth, like, what does that look like? What does your team look like? What do your departments look like? What are your executives and managers? What do they look like? Getting a spam call there. Right. What does your team look like? What do your managers look like? What does your marketing budget look like? What does your brand look like? What does the community feel like about your brand? What is the impact that you're having? Right. All of these things going in depth with that. But one of the missteps that a lot of business owners and people in general have when they do any type of goal setting is then they go immediately to, okay, well, how do I get that? What do I need to do in order to get that? And they miss an important step of who do they need to be in order to achieve those things, right? And that is a really, really big step that you need to focus on, because if you can change yourself, which is truly the only impact that you can really have, then you can attract a lot of those things, right? Who is the business owner that I need to be in order to attract a team like that?
Yep.
Right. That is so huge, because rarely do you get to the level of success that of Tommy, of even Peter and Alicia, unless you become the leader that you would want to work for. Right. So I found that to be a really cool tip. And again, comes right back to the budgeting, even with that, are you marketing for the business that you are today, or are you marketing for the business that you want to be tomorrow? Right. So I love that tip.
Yeah.
Another episode that was a real big, and it's funny, Stacy even just commented on here as well. the culture in the business. And we talked about this with Stacy, and this came up multiple times at the Service Hero event as well, in regards to the culture and there's Trent right there.
Yeah, he sent a messenger. He's been waiting on Zoom since 4, and he lost his phone when he was also in Vegas for a different event. So
that's funny. No wonder I never heard from him.
Trent, if you're watching this, check your email. I emailed you a StreamYard link, and you can jump on and we can take over and get
That's
there.
funny.
But anyways, so not stuck in the airport. I made that up because we didn't hear from him. So just assumed everybody was having issues with flights. I'm like, yeah, he's fucking stuck on an airplane. No, just lost his phone in Vegas. So
totally.
I guess what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas,
including your cell phone. With Stacy and Mike down in Oklahoma, and then also Amanda Triolo up in New York, having both of them on the show, and both of them talked really heavily on the culture that they built within their organization and the team that they built. And I loved what Stacy had to say around the core values that they had built their team with, and even like you see the culture that Amanda's built in her team. If you follow her on Facebook, she just posted a video of their Halloween get together that they did. But when you see a team that can have fun together like that, and they do it once a month there, like it's really, really cool and inspiring to see organizations run like this, where again, what is the kind of business you want to run? Who is it that you want to work with? And if you want to attract A quality players to your team, you need to be running a team that has a tremendous culture like that.
Sorry, I was messaging Trent the StreamYard link. Sometimes when you have to do a couple things, on the go. But even, Stacy has the comment here, right? Do your org accountability now for the next 3 to 5 years ahead, and you get that out of the way, right? And so if you build that in there and you build your core pillars, I mean, we've had business owners on where they say we stripped everything back down to the very basic, and took our business from 7 figures down to like nothing, to rebuild it back up, to put in the right accountability steps, the right culture, the right pillars, so that way they can be able to handle the growth.
Totally. Al Levy here, right? Talking about act as if, right? So huge, right? It's hard sometimes to put yourself in that position, because sometimes you can feel like a fraud. But if you truly believe that this is where you're going, you're only doing your team a disservice by not acting as if you're already there. So I love that tip, Al.
Another great show was with Al Levy. He spit fire. Actually, I pulled open some of the show notes, but like just the 7 steps, 7-power contractor that he has, and breaking it down into your 7 things, right? Planning, operations, finance, staffing, marketing, sales coaching. And obviously there's a lot to unpack in terms of that, but like, having those things built out and the pillars in place are going to help you with your business and with your growth, with the growth on that. So let's add this guy to the stream. I'll change our brand here so it matches. There he is.
Good to see you, brother.
Welcome to our show.
I apologize for my whole self, friends.
It's all good. It's all good, man. I blame it on Vegas. It's all good.
I wish I even had an exciting story. It's the worst. I literally fell asleep like waiting for my 12:55 a.m. flight this morning, local time there, and I went to change, and I put my phone on like the dispenser for toilet paper, and completely whiffed. Did not pick it up. No. By the time I got back, in like 8 minutes, gone. So now the good news is we've tracked it. It's still on, and it's in that airport. So we were calling it. I had some buddies there we could like text and call, like, hey, please pick up. We're calling because I lost my phone, right? It looks like they've delivered it to. Anyways, I should have it in the next couple days, hopefully.
So you fell asleep on the shitter in an airport in the
Las Vegas
airport? Did I hear that? Because you said you fell asleep while waiting for your flight, and then you
wait for the flight. I'm like, I wake up. I'm like, let's go change. Let's go get comfortable at least. And I think I was a little groggy. Here's what I wish alcohol was even involved. It just was not. I was just waiting for a flight, and next thing you know, I'm like, how did I get here? How have I lost my phone? How is this possibly a thing? And it's not crazy that would happen in Vegas, but I don't even have a good story. It's like when people say, Yeah, nice cast. What happened? Oh, I walked off of a step. Broke. You're like, or I live in the Philadelphia area now. Like Claude Giroux, he's out. Why did he miss the first few games of the season? He has an injury golfing in Ottawa in the off season and shattered the golf club. It hit his hand and he missed like 8 games.
Yeah, I remember hearing
Getting
that.
checked.
Like,
You remember that,
yeah,
right? So
yeah, hit the IR from a golf injury, and you're like, what the fuck did you
well,
do?
the rumor was that he had offended an officer. Well, that was a separate incident, but like said something he shouldn't have said, and Ottawa's finest tuned him up a little bit apparently. So,
I could probably
in any
see that
case,
as well. Anyways,
it was 4 fingers when I started because we needed it. Cheers, boys! I apologize for showing up late, but
Thanks for joining us,
guys
brother.
You got the party started. Dude, your
Although-
microphone's way better than mine.
although you were sitting on Zoom, and I did look at the calendar invite. For some reason, the auto system put in a Zoom link into the calendar. But I texted you like 30 minutes before the show. I'm like, hey, Zoom, because Messenger was down too.
Here's the right link.
Right here's
That
the
Messenger's
right link.
down. So you think about like the 4 things that have contributed to me not being here at all today, right?
Yeah, okay,
like
you're
4
here.
of them. So showing up, it's a win, baby. Let's go.
There you go.
Let's go.
Well, I don't know if you were probably watching the show to begin with on Facebook.
I wish I caught all of it. I would have gotten here sooner. I was like, they got to be on. I literally was like on Messenger, nothing. A text, nothing. You guys are using, I don't know, not iPhones, which is great. It's fine. But I'm just like, I can't message. I message everybody else, and I just knew this was going to be a thing today. And I apologize again that Messenger should be more reliable. We should have, again, the calendar invite is weird. We're here.
We're here. We made it.
This is the thing.
Moral of the story: don't fall asleep on the shitter in the Las Vegas airport.
It's hard to argue that logic, brother. I'll
Right?
throw it up for
Cheers
that.
to
That's
that.
good.
So, all right.
Sweet. For those of you that don't remember Trent from when we had him on the show a year ago now, Trent is actually an executive from the Cutco organization where both Thaddeus and I worked. And he ended up getting into business coaching within that organization where he has trained and worked with some of the most high-powered minds in that organization, training 7- and 8-figure business owners. And they are absolutely crushing it, all thanks to him and his leadership. I'm sure he wouldn't take any credit for that, but that's just the humble person that he is. So I'm going to say it.
Usually not. Usually not.
Yeah,
we
he's
were
a
joking
great
the
friend.
other day is that a lot of the guys I work with now are financial planners, right? So and these are just really smart solopreneurs that if they just pause and think can really have massive gains very quickly. So it's not quite saying I'm zero. Like for example, if you're to like go up to Mount Everest and you've got a Sherpa, you'd get there and say, dude, I took every single step and I made every decision. Now those decisions were informed by a Sherpa who also carried 80% of my weight, right? And our stuff. So yeah, you did it, and that's the key. But you also would say, hey, there's no way I get here without a Sherpa. So 100%. I like to think of myself as more of less Luke Skywalker, Yoda, a little more Sherpa, and I'll be that guy that kind of carries your stuff and helps you think. So
there you go, Obi-Wan. Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
Obi-Wan's he's shiesty. If we're gonna go Star Wars, I could do that. We could cross the streams all day long. That's a Ghostbusters reference, boys. Hashtag all of it. 80s nostalgia.
So I love this. It's not Coke. It is not cocaine. It is Cutco.
All the knives that the college kids sell. That's what we did. We all worked together at that organization at one point or another.
Cool. Well, should we get you? I mean, we said we were going to flip the script, so I guess you get to interview us.
I love that. So, guys,
right
it's been a year.
On the spot. Dive into it.
Just go. Let's just go. So, part of my job of being a coach is to get curious. So, if I was to ask you a very simple start, stop, keep, and this is something that's applicable in business, but it's also been real good with coaching, right? And I would say even real good in my home as well. So if we do like a little start, stop, keep, hey, you guys are, a year into this thing. What is something that you're doing that you need to stop? What's something that you're not doing that you might need to start? Or what's something that's going well that you might think, boy, we should probably double down or keep doing it, if you will. So start, stop, keep would be a thought. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go because I already know one thing that we need to start. We actually referenced this a little bit beforehand. Is and you can see now on the new StreamYard link, the sponsored by On Purpose Media, and adding in sponsors to the show, and having that go in, use that to further the reach of the show because of the value that it goes into it. So the thing that need to stop, I know me personally, is prepping at the last minute for the show and actually getting shit done more in advance, or having the team do it more in advance. And so stop doing it myself. We have the team, they might as well use it, and away they go. And obviously keep is the show. So the show is that's, yeah, we got to keep the show, right?
We
It's not
should
going
keep the
anywhere.
show. But what
Yeah.
specifically has been working within the show? Because I would agree that this format and what you guys are doing is exceptional. In fact, I would say we joked about this. There's one thing I knew when I flew in this morning. I was landing at 8:30 local time, right? There's one thing I would say yes to today, and this is it. Right? This isn't like your standard. Not just my. I mean, I really am affectionate for you guys. I love you guys. So this is part of what it is, but also the fact that it's a chill, relaxed environment where we can talk real, get into the weeds of leadership and what's going on and we don't actually need a ton of prep, probably a little more. I would affirm that. I would affirm
So
that.
from our guests, so when the thing that has been working really well for the show is the guests that come on, right? That's what makes the show. It's, as much as I would like to say, hey, it's me, or hey, it's Evan. No, it's the guests, right? That's what's there. And so
So
it's
here's the yes
that,
and. Here's the
yeah.
yes and is you guys might be discounting kind of when Evan was saying, hey, you wouldn't take credit for that. And you guys might not. You're selecting great people that have great ideas, right? So you guys
Yeah.
are kind of curating who comes on. And I would encourage you to double down on that because you're right. But also, you guys might also take for granted the fact that everybody has a podcast, but you guys celebrate what everybody's doing. Like you guys authentically are celebrating the people that are bringing the content here, and in a way that you're able to even translate it if the people that are listening or watching on live like this aren't used to. And I would also say this as a guest on the podcast, and I've done a few of these, right? You make me feel really comfortable to just be me, and we're just hanging out, and I don't even mind joining 24 minutes late. Whereas other podcasts, I'd be like, no way, I'm not joining Gary Vee right now. There's no way I miss Gary Vee, and I try to log in 24 minutes in. There's a
Yeah.
comfort and there's a relaxed type of, hey man, it happened and it's happening. But also, this is kind of leadership, isn't it? Like
100%.
dude, you can't plan for everything. Like stuff's gonna go wrong, and you just
Well,
kind of keep rolling with it.
and that's the part about the show. We go live, right? There's no take backs. It's like Evan's intro, he fucked it up hard today, and it's just
Right
like,
on Front Street,
like, well,
that
that's the part of it. I mean, that's also the risk that a person runs, though, of doing a live show. Is that this, that, or the other thing happens, right? No matter, we've had it before where you're not the first person who came on late. We've had some people completely whiff and they've missed the entire show, right? And so those things happen when you go live.
Totally.
I would encourage you guys to document this though as a moment where you go, okay, there'd be at least a temptation to can it, to do it early, and then you can edit and get all those warts out and the wrinkles and whatever the misses, and you could look more slick. What is compelling about what you guys are doing here and staying intentionally in this place of like, okay, the imperfections actually make it awesome. Like while I was waiting there, I actually put a record on. I put on Phantom Power by the Hip, and the imperfections in the vinyl, right? Actually, for our ear, we pick up white noise when there's music on top of white noise. We pick it up better than if we just listen on our phone, right? So the imperfections are actually where the awesome is, and this is something that you guys might not be aware that you are crushing, but you are. And I super still want one of those hats if I haven't failed my way out of the hat. And I know I missed on Friday the handoff. I apologize. We got in at one local. It wasn't great. But just to get back to, again, what you guys are talking about, it would be easy for you guys to miss the secret sauce here of what is really working, because you guys might be tempted to go, we're just two buddies that love what we do. We're just doing our thing. And I'm going, no, there is genius as being affirmed by others in this space. And there's science that would back it up. So don't take my word for it. Start looking up things like white noise and start looking up things like authenticity and just kind of rolling with the punches like you guys do. So
100%.
I would affirm that. All right, coming to you, Hoff.
Well,
am I the only guy that calls you Hoff still, or is this? Am I the only one trying to make this a thing?
You're keeping it alive. My ball team still calls me Hoff.
Appropriately, it's good.
I don't ever call him Hoff.
I will only ever call you Hoff, so that balances out.
There we go. Perfect. Well, a couple of thoughts that I have. One, I love your thought there around the imperfections and the beauty within that. We were very intentional about going live because everyone does a pre-recorded, let's touch it up, let's make it perfect kind of show, and let's sift out guests that didn't work out and weren't so great. And I mean, we've had some of those too.
Funny.
It's happened, right?
Yeah.
But when you go live, it's real and it's raw, and you're able to extract ideas that maybe you never would have. And we even had some guests on that were like, man, I told myself, Brittany last week was like, I told myself I wouldn't say this, and then she just spewed some authentic story. And it was because of revealing that the rest of the show went so much better. And it was incredible to see, to watch that shift in her as she went. It was great. So definitely we'll never change the live and that real and that authentic nature. And by the way, for all the leaders that are listening and watching this right now, this whole conversation is just for us right now. It's not for you within your organization.
Sure.
Don't think that you can magically make your organization better by thinking about what you can start, stop, and keep within your business. This is for us.
Dude, that you had me going for a second. I'm like, dude, that's amazing.
But I will say that ask yourself that question. Right? What can you start, stop, and keep in your business, and answer that truthfully and honestly, like we are here on the show.
Well, and it's
the key there. What we're trying to do there is raise awareness, right? So when you raise awearness,
yes,
you've got a shot. You've got a chance of doing something different when you're aware. The reality is most of us are so busy, so fast, we're not aware. We're not taking stock of what's actually working. And that's one of the things I love about that series of questions is, what am I missing that I need to do? What am I not doing that I could start, right? And what is working? And that's an important part of this recipe to get right is, hey, I'm doing something right at least. And again, a lot of people that I'm sure are watching this are people that resonate with, hey, I'm not doing this perfectly.
Right.
And they get that, but they will focus on the wrong part of the equation.
Always.
They'll focus on why do I suck, not what is working and what am I great at. And I would posit that a strengths-based approach is always going to be more effective than trying to mitigate your weakness. Double down on what you're awesome at. And very often it'll eliminate what you're not great at.
Yep. Well, and hire to fill in those weaknesses, right? A lot of the people that we
got to be taken care of.
100%.
Yes.
100%. Right.
Somebody's got to do the books. If you don't like the money side, somebody better. Because CCRA, don't forget, IRS, they don't just let you go.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody's got to be good at the actual, you don't have to be great. I'm not even getting paid to plug this book, but I'm so fired up about Rocket Fuel. Are you guys familiar with this?
Mm-hmm.
So Rocket Fuel, they're talking about the visionary and the integrator, right? And I would imagine a ton of people watching this. Again, a lot of times when you have solopreneurs, people that are just kind of one-off, maybe they're first-generation entrepreneurs, they're doing this, they don't know what they're doing, they love what they're doing, but they're not great at implementing everything. So they're great at vision and dreaming, and this is what we're going to do. But even what they say they're going to do changes week to week, sometimes day to day or hour to hour, and they need a strong, I would say number 2, but equal biz partner integrator that is implementing the big ideas.
100%.
Rocket Fuel. That's my quick pitch on Rocket Fuel, which I would just listen to. You don't even need to read the book, but it's valuable. This could be a game changer because what's interesting is I don't know which of you two would be the integrator. You guys both seem to be a couple of visionaries.
That's definitely more integration than I am. I throw a ton of shit on the wall, and yeah,
good.
This is what stuck.
I check it to what's reality.
So that's the integrator, and I would encourage you. Listen, Thad, this is where you're gonna shift. You're gonna go, we're doing this. Actually, it'll help you celebrate what you're doing great. And again, double down on what you guys are doing well there. And there might be some opportunities to kind of level up. So, Hoff, I'm not sure we got the keep. I think I cut you off there. We use the beauty here also is the rabbit trails. The rabbit trails are actually, it's the work. This is the beautiful thing. And
100%.
I appreciate you guys trust me enough to just start asking questions. Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
That was
the goal, right?
That was how I framed it coming into the show. And then when we were, 10 past and shit was happening, I was like, okay, I'm gonna rewrite this. And I edited the post and like, we're gonna just go without our guest. And now you're here. So
Make it work.
I love that you gave me a cover story that was super great. I appreciate that. That's really good.
I mean,
it's a fair assumption, by the way. I was like, I don't know, guys.
Text messenger and call, and it's like, okay, well, it's not working.
I know it's probably on an airport, right? I mean, you said that you were flying back this morning, so I was like,
dead in Las Vegas somewhere.
Vegas. Anyways, back to Evan.
Evan, if you were to say start, stop, keep, which do you knock out already? Which have you checked, and which do you?
Well, I mean, start would probably be get even more real on the show and get even deeper into the weeds. Like I feel like there is still some fluff that we go to, and part of it is just trying to make guests feel comfortable, but I would really love to get even deeper especially into like the frustrations and the pains and the difficulties to get to where they're at today. I think those are the real conversations that one, reveal and have you appreciate and have even more gratitude for the guests that we have on the show and what they're bringing and where they've come from to where they're at now. But it also allows the listeners to really resonate with that too, because a lot of them are in the middle of the shit, and it's hard to smell like a rose when you're rolling around in a pile of shit. So
right.
We've got to, I think it's our job and our responsibility to really uncover more of those conversations and have more of those conversations.
That's a good word. I would even go further. I'm doubling down on what you're suggesting. And Brene Brown has done the studies here that would say that being authentic and actually sitting in that, because in the 90s, even it was still very en vogue to look like you got it together, act as if, which again, so many of us, even if we eschew that, we go, it's not me now. We default to that.
Right.
Hey, fake it till I make it, and I'll let everybody see that I'm awesome. But we used to talk about in the 90s, the duck is furiously spinning underwater, but totally chill up top. Actually, this generation now, right? Gen X. Well, no, let's go deeper. What are we? Gen Z, millennials, not even millennials, we're Gen Z, whatever. We're past even Gen Z because now also technology is forcing a contraction of those generations, right?
Totally.
So now all of a sudden, if you're born in 04, you have nothing in common with somebody born in 94. It's 10 years though, but it's probably 2 generations there almost.
Totally.
Right? But what starts to shift is if you are spinning, they're talking that in terms of like toxic positivity. That was not a term in the 90s. That was not a term in the 90s. Toxic positivity of you just need to be awesome was something we would do. I did as a young leader, right, in the 90s. That is not appropriate today. Actually going, listen, man, I see you where you're struggling. That's a hard day. Hey, that's a hard day. When people are finding out about my phone, even Thad was like, dude, that sucks. That's an appropriate response. Because it does. What I don't need is, you lost your phone. You get a new one. I'm like, I'm going to knock you out. If you were in front of me, I would assault you right now and go to jail and get kicked out of the United States.
Come back to Canada. Come back to Canada.
I would.
Nazi Canada.
And just get kicked out. I'm just saying it's not appropriate when you're hurting and you're rolling, you're trying to look like a rose and you're just hurting and somebody goes, "Oh, this is great, isn't it?" You're like, fucking not. This is actually terrible. This is actually a hard day. And actually, if you can't,
I'm in hell.
Empathetic, right?
Come here with me. Then the empathy's everything. Yeah, if you actually can't connect with me on this moment, I don't want you here when I do make it. And it's not just in business. You're hearing this in music. You're hearing this in art, in movies. Like the anti-hero is being more celebrated because life isn't black and white. It's super gray. super gray, right? And the reality is most of your days as a leader, most of your days as a dad, you feel like you're the dude, I screw up more than I win. I'm not a good dad. You're like, dude, I'm not good. Now, if I stop and go, okay, compare me against my dad, I'm like, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I still super love my dad. Like, get at, like, I'm not trying to take a shot at my own dad, whom I love. Sorry, Dad. I'm saying, hey, it's okay, because the mistakes that we're making, connecting with our kids, connecting with the people that are following us, is more important than being right. It's more important than being awesome. And some of the words that I'll use with the leaders I'm talking about now is, hey, it's more important to be faithful, like to do the things that you know you should do, like to do those things and do the right thing, even if it doesn't look good or feel good, than it is to be awesome. I will take faithfulness over success every time, because the person that can step into and lean into being faithful with what they're supposed to be doing the right thing more often than not, that person is going to win. That person in 21.
Let me ask you this then. Does the complaining up still play into that, or do you feel like there is space to be vulnerable with the people who are working for you and let them know and give them a little bit of feedback into how you actually are doing?
It's a great point. And I actually think this is one of the secret moves that, again, Brene Brown, when Daring Greatly becomes a bestseller, it not only is permission, she's actually saying scientifically, it's better if you're having a bad day to go in and let your team know. And I say this because, again, even if you know this to be true, we will function separately. We'll say to ourselves, I need to have the stiff upper lip and look awesome today, even though I'm hurting.
Yep.
That's what we'll do, right? And actually, the best move is, hey, team. And I have a friend, boy, one of the guys I coach, he's fighting cancer. This is a 4th time, and he's beat it 3 times. But like, dude, every time just feels horrible. Every time. I appreciate the pink brim there, but every time feels like, boy, is this the time? And he goes, how can I? This is this guy's question. How can I support my people when I go in and I don't feel good, either emotionally because I'm worried about my young son, or I'm worried I could actually die this time. This guy's going, how can I support my people? I'm like, okay, it's an amazing question. And here was my response. Let your people know how hard today is. Now that invites them to step up and be awesome. A lot of leaders, especially in the 90s, we were thwarting development because we were awesome and cast a long shadow. And a lot of people said, I can't do what that guy's doing. I can't do what that guy's doing. And because I'm not awesome all the time and he seems like he's awesome all the time, that means this must not be for me. And there's a mutual friend I'm not going to name here that actually your business is named after here even, right? Who was the best at looking awesome all the time. That you and I both know was not awesome all the time. And the problem is in the 2021, people are less empathetic for somebody who says, I'm awesome, when they know you're not. Yep. But actually, if you go in and go, you know what, guys, chemo sucks and I don't feel good today. If you need something today, I'm going to need you to tell me, because normally I'll pick it up. Today I might not pick it up because I'm just self-absorbed. I'm just struggling today. This is good advice even to parents. Hey, son, today isn't the day to ask for the new hockey stick. Today is not the day to ask for the sleepover. I am fighting the good fight, and you just don't ask me now, right? Don't ask me today. But hey, give daddy some white birth. Daddy's not feeling so great. Daddy's below the line. My son would say, I'm in my bag today, right? So the idea is you communicate what's real, and in that moment, you're actually implying that there's permission to not be awesome, but to try and do awesome. And that's, I don't know if that's super clear in Brene Brown's book, but the idea is, hey, I'm giving myself permission to not feel good, but I'm going to try and do good. Despite the fact that I don't feel good, I'm actually going to try and press into the fact that I don't feel good and do good work today. It's okay that I don't feel good. It's not okay that I don't do good. And that's what's a little tricky in this generation, because I will say this as a critique against the generation now. How I feel is true. I'm like, actually, how I feel lies to me all the time. All the time. My interpretation of what's real right now is mostly off. Now, it's important for me to assess that soberly. When I assess that and I go, well, actually, when I see what's going on and I go, okay, what I'm feeling is true, go. But it's good to have a brother, especially one that's really different from you. So Evan, when you say like, yeah, definitely, we're so different. And I'm like, this is an idea. And you're like, this is the move. He's like, yeah, it's crazy, bro. You trust that. Now, here's what happens. When he agrees and goes, actually, that is awesome. You just hit gold. You just go, oh, do we just put peanut butter and chocolate? Like, you just go, whoa, is that a miracle? You're like, yes.
Well, it is funny, you're like three things really. We've actually done the Clifton Strengths Assessment together, and you analyze, Evan and I's dynamic and how that works. It just works, right? Because we're enough opposite, but we're also enough together to be able to run and drive the business forward. In terms of like, if you're like, okay, what's your role within the organization? We're not both competing to be CEO. Yep. One's competing to be a CEO and one's competing to be a COO. And that's really what helps, our organization work. But, the one thing is it's okay to not be okay, right? That's one thing that I wrote down. It's okay to not be okay. And as Stacy here, even said, nothing changes if nothing changes. It's a recovery thing, but it applies. If they cannot see you in real time, then how can you inspire conversation that changes? I think back to the leadership position I was in with Best Version Media prior to, in the division manager role. And, the team's always reaching out and they're bombarding you, and you've had a shit day, or shit's not going right, or whatever, right? Everybody's dealing with their own shit. But what's different is when you try to put on that face and you try to ignore that, it doesn't work, right? And where you can have that real conversation, right? And it feels terrible. You're trying to inspire somebody when you have no inspiration yourself. So it's like, hey guys, I'm not my best self today. I'm still going to try to help you. But here's the power. When you do that with your team, they're like, oh my God, is everything okay? How can I help? Is there anything that's wrong with you? What can I do? They rise up to help you out. And it's a cool thing to be able to do, to be vulnerable to a point with your team.
Right. Now, to play devil's advocate with that, obviously chemotherapy, that's a beast.
That's something completely
shitstorm
different
to deal with. If you're hungover, can you right?
Yeah.
Can you do the same thing?
Here's what's tricky with that one. Again, if you're hungover, here's the yes and, right? Here's the yes and.
All right.
The yes and is, hey guys, I made some terrible life choices last night. Fell asleep on the crapper in Las Vegas. In
the airport.
Right. So if you've stepped in it, right? If you've stepped in it,
you're never going to get the end of that one.
People, I'm going to suggest is always the right move, because here's what happens. If you own it with your people, you'll find that they own it with you when they screw up too.
100%.
Right. So if you find that people are making excuses for their mistakes instead of owning them, you need to ask whether I'm doing that myself.
Love it.
And one of my original founders at Cutco Vector, Don Frieda, would say, if you're not happy with your people, don't blame your people.
Mm-hmm.
Either you've attracted the people that are like you, or you've nurtured them into you. So very often the things that you're most frustrated with your people, they've learned it somewhere. Right.
Well, and isn't that what kids are too? They're just a giant mirror,
say,
right?
As soon as your kid's saying, fuck, like, where did they learn that word? You just watch the movies, you're like, you say fuck every other word. Like, of course they hear that. If you're not happy with that, it's not the kid's fault. They're just watching and emulating they're doing. Now, that said, it would be important to go, listen, I'm looking for a one-time cover. This is where I would say, I show up and I'm hungover and starchy. Guys, I screwed up. I want to be better for you. I am starchy. I was overserved last night. Right? You joke about shifting blame.
I was overserved. I was about to say, like, they don't just randomly overserve you. You make those choices.
And it's so extreme in that moment. It's clear, right? It's like when Evan's like saying, don't apply this. It's just an internal conversation among three buddies. And really, it's kind of what it is. But also, right, the truth nugget would be like, hey, guys, I messed up. And if you need something today, please just make it clear to me, because I'm probably not going to pick it up because I'm cloudy, right? So own it. And by the way, if that's a weekly conversation, you will at some point then erode the trust or the psychological safety that your people have for you. Totally. And if we don't have safety, we don't have trust. If we don't have trust, how can they sell out for you? Now, when we go back to that other extreme, as much as I think it sells the point of like, all right, if you're not at your best, let your people know. Let's talk about mental health for a second. When you show up and you go, okay, it's 3 days in a row and I haven't had a single spike in my mood, that means I might be depressed and I don't feel good. Hey guys, I'm just not feeling great today. And this is different than chemo. This is, I'm not feeling great today. I normally will catch, if you guys aren't feeling good today, I might miss that. And I don't want to miss that. So help me support you today. If you need something, just be explicit. Say, I need 10 minutes at 3 o'clock, or I need a signature on this, or I need this to be able to move forward. By letting your people know that you're not at your best, you actually, again, not only empower them to think creatively and think outside the box of what they normally do, they start to lead. And our job as leaders is to create other leaders, not I have to be here all the time so that they're awesome. That breeds lazy, terrible followers. It's the exact opposite of what we're called to do as leaders. Our job is to create other leaders and duplicate ourselves. So when you show up and you're like, guys, I'm actually not awesome today, right? Dad, you said this. It was like, I need to be less awesome in this moment so that you guys can excel and be great. And I wish it was different. I wish it could be awesome today. And that's true. Again, we're being authentic. Hey, I wish this wasn't a thing today, but today it is. And this is your opportunity to step up.
Totally.
And listen, if you don't, it's still on me because you didn't ask for this today, right? And I'm going to support you as best I can. But like, let's lock arms and see what happens. What I'm suggesting here is something that will be hard because it feels counterintuitive and it feels like the opposite of leadership. But the reality is what you're doing in that moment is inviting them to step up. You're inviting them to lead. And by authentically, now they may eventually, especially if you're just showing up hungover all the time, they will leapfrog you, right? But at least you didn't frustrate them and they leave, which now if they see, they might not ever say anything like, you know what, you weren't real with me, right? But if people are leaving and you don't know why, do the gut check here. Hey, am I like not leading authentically? Do they feel like they could even bring feedback to me like that? If the answer is no, then you're probably part of that, I would say, toxic leadership, which is going to be a thing. And in a leadership shortage, which we're in right now, and interestingly enough, Tim Sanders, our friend, predicted this years ago. He goes, aging population, boom. Younger generation that didn't have to work for what they got, you're going to struggle to find leaders right now. So when you have leaders, treat them well, overpay them, take care of them, give them the time off that they need, etc. Keep the A players, as you guys are describing, but how we define A player needs to shift, I think.
Yep, big time. Well, and I think that vulnerability really cultivates that, and it allows people to step into their power and allows them to own more of it. A guest that we had on back in March, and before you hopped on, Trent, we were kind of going through some of those highlight reel shows that we had along the way.
Nice.
But Gil Cavey, he was actually our St. Patrick's Day episode, so we got into it a little bit with him. It was fun.
Us get into it now. You're talking about being hungover at work. I'm like every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Thirsty Thursdays. Got to start off right. But yeah, Gil, he had actually just finished an episode. He does his own podcast as well, HVAC Uncensored. If you don't listen to it, you got to check it out. It's a great show.
Yeah.
But he got really vulnerable on the show, and he had missed a few weeks where he wasn't putting out content. It was because he was going through his own shit and his own mental health battle, and he was really vulnerable about it. Most downloaded episode that he had to that point was that show, and it was only a week out. And I mean, they're getting 30,000 downloads an episode, so they're doing some really good things over there. But it was really impactful.
Just on the podcast networks, not including anything going live or anything yet.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, they started to copy us and start putting some content out on YouTube too now, so it's good to see.
Yeah, if you guys aren't on YouTube, you need to be. I mean,
it streams live.
Good. I mean, the content you guys are doing, I believe the world needs to see, whether they're in the HVAC world or not. The leadership principles that you guys are diving into here, this is cutting edge stuff, guys. And again, I don't even know that you guys are aware of how good you guys are as leaders. And again, I'm affirming two friends that I've always been very affectionate for. But part of this is because of the fact that you guys have always been really authentic, like genuine and sincere. And here's what some of your viewers or listeners might not know. if we were just by ourselves, this would be the same conversation. This is the exact same conversation. Not a single thing uttered here is to drive subscriptions or to drive listeners or viewership or whatever. You guys are doing the real thing either way. And what I might suggest is that that's part of the keep, is because that is rare.
Right.
And it's beautiful. When I see it, guys, I celebrate it, and I celebrate you guys for sure. I hope I don't have to wait a year to get invited back. I'll be better.
We'll actually have it set up this time. But the other part about being live is my background noises that show up: a screaming kid, a barking dog,
Barking dog.
busting into your office. You're like, fuck.
Please let no FedEx packages arrive from Amazon while my dog's in the background. He will go off, dude.
Cool. Random question. Let's do the random question, because that is a part of our show. I had one queued up for Evan that he did not know what it is, but I'm going to ask it to you, Trent. What is the most annoying question that people ask you?
Love your question, dude, and I'm curious to hear what Evan would say. Hey, uninformed questions without context. So like, we'll get kids that will come to me, and I have empathy for these kids now, whereas I'm saying 10 years ago, I'm like, your question sucks, and I would actually dismiss and blow them up. But actually, as a 47-year-old dad, somebody that raises their hand and asks a question, that's a lot of courage that goes into that, even if it's a crappy question. So usually what I'm trying to do is redirect them in. So they'll say, this is the question, right? To answer your question directly. Can you give me 2 to 3 tips to success? And I want to. That question makes me want to punch kittens in the face. It makes me want to hurt things that are beautiful. It does trigger me even still, because this is a kid that's got some leadership, right? It is daring and is, but they're not going deeper. So like now people say, they'll even go deeper. They'll go say, hey, can I coach with you? I'm like, even if you had the money, I could not spend time. Go watch the videos. Go watch the content that's available. So even Gary Vee, what you'll notice if you watch Gary Vaynerchuk, if somebody asks him a question, can I get 11 to 15 minutes of your time? He starts laughing in this video. He's like, you've watched my stuff, and it's a yes. So a rando audience member out of 13,000 people can get a yes from Gary Vee if they've watched all his content and ask a question with context.
Right.
Because he's given up the nuggets. When somebody says, give me the tips to success, you're like, it's just not that simple. First of all, like, I just don't know where you are, and it would be just a horrible answer. But if you're going to ask a Gary Vaynerchuk, if you're going to ask an Evan Hoffman, right, a question like that, hey, watch the podcast. Now, here's what also is important, though. When we have somebody ask a question that you can tell the spirit of the question is good, but like the question was just asked badly, like we can actually frame that in, and actually help them, right? So what I'll say to a person that says, can you give me the 3 keys to success? I'll say, how much video are you watching? Or when somebody says, hey, I want to start spending $1,000 on a coach a month, I'll say, how much journaling are you currently doing? How many podcasts are you listening to? How many books are you reading? Because if you can't interact with the content you currently have, the knowledge you already have, most of us don't have a knowledge problem. We have a behavior problem, right? Our behavior isn't lining up with what we know we should be doing. So most people have massive gains. If they were just pause and go, what am I not doing? Start. That I could be doing to move us forward. If they just paused and spent a month meditating daily on what am I not doing that I need to do? What am I doing that I need to stop doing? What am I doing well that I need to keep going? So the start, stop, continue. If I can get a kid, and here's what's so funny. One of the kids I coached a month and a half ago, they saw one of my events. He goes, hey, it's working. Give me something new. Give me the next one. I said, no, there's no next. There's no next. Start, stop, keep, rinse and repeat. Keep asking it.
Go deeper.
It's not just that, right? Deeper, right? So, hey, you've been asking this with your kids. Hey, start, stop, keep with school. Well, that's good. Start, stop, keep me as your dad. In our relationship, what's something that I'm doing that I need to stop doing? What's something that we're not doing, father, son, that we need to start? And what are we doing well that we need to make sure we don't lose? That's, again, the truth. When you find a truth, something that is really functioning well, it's not, give me the next. Like, no. We're going to go deeper in that one. This one, you've not mastered this one. Until we get this one, we can't go on to the next. And actually, even the next might not get you as much yield as this one.
Totally. That's just it. Are you 9 miles wide and half an inch deep, or right?
That's called girthy.
Super girth. Brian Regan reference.
The one time I
That's
unmuted
strong.
my mic, yeah.
That is deep cut right there.
That was that, and it's balancing that width and depth. I think eventually you get to the point where, nice. Thanks, Stacy. But it's balancing that width and depth, and you want to keep going deeper in a very narrowed focus, but eventually starting to separate that out and start going a little wider, but only once you've gotten deep enough. Which, yeah, no, never mind. I was gonna go there, but I didn't.
Then Stacy would for real walk away.
Yes, definitely would.
I saw her drop the mic and just peace out.
Yeah, she was gone.
But also, that's fun. She makes a great point here. If we could put that one up, like your shit is really the same as someone else's shit. We're just more alike than different. It's literally so. Stacy is keying in on the fact that as a leader, you go, listen, I struggle with stuff the same as you do. I don't think I'm enough most days. I'm actually making more mistakes than I'm winning, but also I'm enough. Mm-hmm. And my job as a leader is to qualify you to lead. That's my job. If I'm a youth hockey coach, my job this year is to make sure you love hockey so you want to play next year.
Right.
I don't care if there's a 12-year-old kid or a 20-year-old kid. My job is to make sure that you move forward. And if we can keep our leaders moving forward, you get tough to stop. You become hard to kill, baby.
Well, and this was really interesting. A guest that we had on back in June, Ishmael Valdez out of California. I mean, he's running a tremendous business. And I just got to see him speak again and hang out with him a little bit here in Vegas. But one of the like really subtle things that he shared in his Q&A session, which if you weren't paying attention to it, you really missed out on a golden nugget. When he's sitting in on a management meeting, it's no longer him focusing on what he needs. It's him focusing on what does my team need? And he's asking them, okay, what do you need from me? You know, from my dispatch department, what do you need from me? From my service department, what do you need from me? From my installation department, what do you need from me? He's serving them, not the other way around, right? And I think that's something that a lot of business owners need to check themselves on. I know I need to remind myself on that as well, is that they're not working for me, I'm working for them. And when you make that subtle shift in mindset and in awareness, everything changes in terms of what gets you up in the morning and what are you going to work for? What are you doing this for? So
when I share that you guys celebrate your guests, right? Like really, they become hosts because you celebrate and where they're going. They're now the center of attention, and you catch, and your filter appropriately is catching what is the right move to focus on, right? So as a facilitator, I would suggest that this is one of the trickiest things to be able to do is to not be awesome, but to see what awesome just happened and make sure everybody got it.
Right.
And this is something that you guys do exceedingly well. So keep leaning into that. When you see that a guest has actually hit something, they move on. I see it all the time. They hit something, they throw it away. And you're like, oh, it's so good.
So good.
That's the thing. Like, that's the thing. And when you guys can help them, that feels good for your audience. That feels good for your guests. That feels good. It hits all the boxes, guys. And you guys naturally and organically do this. There are guys that don't, women that don't get this. They're not keying in on what is exceptional about this moment, what did hit here. Or they're trying to go 9 miles wide and 2 inches deep. They're trying to hit more content, more questions today instead of going deeper. The rabbit trails is where the miracles are. It's the deep stuff that we didn't plan. I host a podcast internally here for our people at Cutco, and one of our best moments, we had 18 episodes, like 90 minutes each, and one of our best moments was when the manager was throwing away having a difficult conversation with somebody in their leadership training group that missed assignments. And he role played it. It was like gold. And in his mind, everybody does this, right? I was like, no, they don't, but we captured it. We just saw the great white shark mating in the wild on film. We just got it. We just got it.
That's how babies are made.
That's going old school for involved a bongo drum and whitewater rafting in the interior BC.
It was
That
delightful.
is real.
Yeah,
It's a good river to whitewater
It was
raft
a
on too.
lifetime high for me still, brother. It was so good.
it was glorious. Amazing, dude. No, it's and honestly, I truly appreciate all the kind things that you had to say about us. It helps that we have two drunken minds on the show, because one of us will usually pick up on something and be able to spin off on it a little bit. But
really depends on what the other person is doing during the show. If I'm if I'm reading and scrolling through the comments and trying to respond back.
Well,
yes.
the said guys is that it's easy to celebrate what you guys are doing great, because it is really very good. And it would, again, be easy for you to miss how good it is, but also for your people to not even understand, why do I like this so much? Right? This is like very, it's visceral. You're feeling
Right.
like, I know that this is good. Why is this so good? This is very deep leadership concepts that, even if we don't know all of the science that goes underneath it, the art of this is trusting that this is really good. So
here's a little nugget in what Trent just said. Reverse engineering is the most powerful thing that you can do for your business. Reverse engineering why you buy what you buy, reverse engineering why you listen to what you listen, reverse engineering to why you watch what you watch. Studying that and the science of that and doing it for yourself. One of the other things that Trent said earlier was, how much do you journal? Right? Application of knowledge is power. Knowledge alone is not power. So you need to apply what it is that you already know. If all you needed was more information to run a 7 million or a 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure HVAC business, everyone with an internet connection would literally be there already. It's applying what it is that you already know that's going to make the difference.
Well, friends, I was glad I was able to deliver almost 60 minutes, despite the fact I was 25.
It's gonna be like this disjointed podcast of like, okay, Evan and Thad are talking about themselves. 25 minutes in, this guest comes in and like, what the hell happened?
The longest intro ever, and the guest can't deliver on that, obviously.
Well, as we wrap up, one last question. What is one question that you wished people would ask you more, but don't?
What would you say to your younger self?
Okay, so let me ask you this. What would you say to your younger self?
Younger self, I would say, you're probably not as good as you think, but you're not as bad as you think either. I would actually say to soberly self-assess, the old Latin, nosce te ipsum, know thyself. To see yourself as others see you is really hard as a young leader, really hard. And to be able to soberly assess, okay, how am I really doing, is just so tough. Now, by the time we get good at it, some of us, if we're blessed, 30s, 40s, and you go, man, now I have energy and knowledge and wisdom. Whoa, but what if you could pull that forward? What if you could pull that into your 30s? What if you could pull that into your 20s? And, I think I would also say this. To a 21-year-old Trent Booth, I would say, you think that these things that are going bad around you, these things that are happening to you, these circumstances that are really hard, you think these are meant to break you down or destroy you. It's not it. Actually, these are designed, like, you don't get gold, you don't get diamonds without fire and pressure. Right? So character is forged in the fires of adversity. The adversity actually is your friend, not your enemy here. So I know this is hard, got through. You're going to be okay. Actually, you're going to be better than okay earlier than you should be, because you've been through hard stuff. I get very nervous when I talk to a young leader that hasn't had hard days. Hard days make for better leaders for sure. So if you're an entrepreneur listening to this and you go, man, most of my days are hard, good. Because now you're qualified to have the empathy that was referring to, and to connect with your people in a very real way that if you've not been through that, you can't. So because you've been through what you've been through, that qualifies you specifically and uniquely to help people. And you're not disqualified. And I say it because most of us say, wow, going through what I went through disqualifies me, and that's the wrong voice to listen to. The right voice is actually, it uniquely qualifies you to help people going through the same thing. So guys, thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for welcoming me, despite the fact I was 24 minutes late. Found a way though to pull it off.
Hey,
Good to me.
well, I'll take some ownership on that for not having the correct link. The thing with StreamYard is you can't automate StreamYard, so you can't actually like automate creating a link. It's a unique link for every show that you create, and so I mean, there's some ways around that of like creating it in advance and blah blah blah. But anyway,
I'll be better next time.
Better prepared. You know the rigmarole, because I think last time we did it, we were on Zoom, yeah, I think we were on Zoom. So
we were still on Zoom back in the day.
Back in the day, and now we got all these
using that
pink
old
colors.
school technology.
This thing's really cool. I mean, it looks amazing already. The production's really high.
Now we have all these fancy pink colors of things. So, but I will be the first to say thank you, Trent, for taking the time out of your day to chat with 3 crazy Canadians. Because little known fact, you are Canadian.
I was literally golfing with Canadians this week. So we had like 12 of us, but 4 of us were in one house, and we were all not just Canadians from Vancouver. Like all 4 of us were in like Mesquite, Nevada, and all 4 Canadians. So I played a bunch of Tragically Hip and like April Wine. I was playing like old school Canadiana in the car.
I will say.
That's some Craven rocking the valley right there with the trad.
It was strong.
The Tragically Hip is I didn't see him on his final tour, but I watched him live in Calgary, and it was like like the Arkells open for him, another great Canadian band, and like he just crushed it, and like we're shutting it down because like the noise restrictions at like midnight or whatever. And he kept telling everybody to say, nah, fuck off. We're playing. And I think they went till like 1 a.m, despite them trying to get everything unplugged. It was crazy. Just
if you've not seen the Netflix special, long time running, watch it, because when he was diagnosed, he got medicine not to try and extend his life, to try and extend his quality of life so he could perform one last tour with his boys. And I got to see him on that last tour in Toronto, and he's singing That Night in Toronto with his checkerboard floors, right? And you get to see like, Bill Barilko, his rafter, he's got that thing hanging from the rafters. I'm like, dude, this is the Hip in Toronto with my Cutco friends, Angie, Joe, right? And it was a moment, is a career highlight moment for me for sure. But to your point, if you're not a Canadian Hip fan, then I don't know if you're Canadian.
No. And if you're American and you're like, who the fuck are they talking to? The Tragically Hip. Listen to it. They've got a Spotify playlist that is phenomenal.
Niche, by the way. It'll serve well. It'll serve well. My American friends, check them out. You will not regret it. They're better than Pearl Jam, and even Eddie Vedder paid tribute to Gord Downing, the lead singer from the Hip, when he passed away. So
there you go.
Friends, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Trent. Appreciate it, brother.
See you.
Thanks for watching another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, 2 quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing is, if you took one tiny bit of information out of the show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to share this. No matter what platform you're consuming this content on, hit the share button and introduce this show to others in your contacts list so they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.